Towards the end of part 1 of this Sikha presentation, the Rebbe presented a position drawn from the Zohar that the NEGA TZARAAT that was found in a building reflected the Omek Hara. The Rebbe now argues that the Omek Hara descriptive also applies to the NEGA TZARAAT that is found upon the body. One source mentioned in the previous panel was from the Sefer Yetzirah, a text reflecting Kabbalistic ideas that Ein Bara Lamata Minega. The level of Ra, the level of Klipa, is most pronounced, cannot be lower than the Klipa that is found in a Nega, referring to the NEGA TZARAAT of the body. In this panel, we will look at two other areas of text material, that of the Drush and that of the Pshuta Shel Mikra. The first 44 pasukim of Vayikra Perek 13 list the various lesions that potentially would deem an individual to be a Metzorah. The decider in this matter is the Kohen, who, upon presentation of the lesions along with a waiting period, formally declares the individual to be Tameh. At this point in time, the Metzorah enters into a period of quasi-mourning, similar to the Avel, who begins the Avelot by an act of Kriya, the tearing of one's clothes. So too the Metzorah. Additionally, he or she must cover the head with a hood down to the upper lip. Whomever he or she meets, there is an announcement by the Metzorah to keep away because he or she is in a state of Tumah. Pasuk Mem Hey informs us that Kol Yemei Asher HaNega Bo Yitma, he shall remain Tameh as long as the Nega is upon him. Art Scroll renders the word Nega as the mark, Hirsch and Kaplan the affliction, and the Gutnik Chumash the lesion. Tameh Hu, the pasuk goes on to tell us, since he is Tameh, Badad Yeshev. Badad Bet Dalad Dalad, to be alone, lonely, isolated, to live in solitude. Yud Shin Bet normally translates as to sit. In this context, to remain or to dwell would be more appropriate. Moshavo also with a Yud Shin Bet Shoresh, he is to live, relocate, Michutz Lamachane, outside of the three encampments, somewhat a form of banishment. Close scrutiny of the pasuk would lead us to suggest that the phrase Tameh Hu Badad Yeshev, suggesting that he or she must be isolated from the rest of the community, and Michutz Lamachane Moshavo, that his dwelling, he needs to relocate to be outside the actual encampment, is repetitive. The pasuk could have stated Kol Yemei Asher HaNega Bo Yitma. Firstly, that as long as the lesion, the Nega, Yitma, he shall remain Tameh, and that Moshavo, his dwelling, Michutz Lamachaneh, must be outside the camp. Rashi, drawing from the Talmud Bavli Psachim Samach Zayin, reads into the Tameh Hu Badad Yeshev an extra layer of isolation, that not only must he or she be isolated from the mainstream of the community, but Shelo Yihyu Tameim Acherim. Yoshavin Imo. Misery loves company. In this situation, however, the individual afflicted with the NEGA TZARAAT is isolated even from other individuals who are Tameh. And in a footnote, the Rebbe notes that this may also apply to other individuals who are afflicted with the TZARAAT of the body. In all 6 categories of Tumah, ranging from contact with a dead body through to the Tumat Zav, Zava, and the Nida, there are restrictions. None of those restrictions, however, require that the individual must be isolated from the mainstream community. Tumat TZARAAT is an exception, where firstly there is a requirement for relocation away from the community, and furthermore, Tameh Hu Badad Yeshev, no interaction with any other human being, which further underscores the Omek Hara aspect of the TZARAAT that develops on the body of an individual. In the earlier panels we noted what seems to be a conflict regarding the NEGA TZARAAT that developed in a building. The Zoharic position was that it reflected the intensity of Klipa, the Omek Hara, while Rashi, based upon sources in the Gemara, read into God's causing a NEGA TZARAAT to appear in a building was an expression of Riboy Hatov, expressed in the discovery of valuables that had been secreted in the walls of these buildings. It will be the thesis of the Rebbe that these two seemingly polar opposite situations that exist in the NEGA TZARAAT of the shrines that we used for Avodah Zarah can also be found in the situation of a NEGA TZARAAT that appears on the body of an individual. In this panel, we established the Omek Hara side of the equation. We will now look at the Riboy Hatov that is brought about through one contracting a Nega Tzaraat upon the body.